All right, let's get one thing straight. You're not here because you're a bad person. You're not here because you're weak or broken or somehow less than everyone else. You're here because you're a human being with a nervous system that can be tricked, a brain that can be hacked, and somewhere along the line, something went wrong with the wiring. That's what we're going to talk about now. We're not going to talk about sin or shame or guilt. We're going to talk about circuitry. We're going to talk about a system that has been corrupted. Your enemy isn't desire. Desire for connection, for intimacy, for feeling alive. Those are not your enemies. Your enemy is a parasite, a hijacker. It's taken a beautiful, powerful, driving force within you, and it has rerouted it into a dead-end loop that is slowly draining your life. Think about it. When does it strike hardest? Is it when you're at your best? When you're focused, engaged, full of purpose and momentum? No, almost never. It strikes in the quiet, empty moments. It strikes when you're exhausted at the end of a long, meaningless day. It's there when you feel lonely, even in a crowd. It's there when you're stressed, when you're anxious about the future, when you're bored out of your mind, when you feel a vague but persistent ache of disappointment. That feeling, that lack, that void, is the ignition. Your brain, in its ancient simplistic wisdom, is screaming for a solution. It wants to feel better now. It wants relief. It wants a hit of certainty in an uncertain world. And like a lazy, brilliant engineer, it remembers a shortcut. It remembers that there's a chemical lever it can pull. Dopamine, the promise of reward, not happiness, mind you, the pursuit of it. So it takes that legitimate pain, the stress, the loneliness, the boredom, and it offers a counterfeit solution. It points you down a neural pathway it has paved with repetition. Go there, it says. It's easy, it's fast. You know the way. That's the hijack. A real human need for peace, for significance, for rest, for connection, is being answered with a cheap, digital, solitary transaction. You're not seeking pleasure. You're seeking an escape from pain. You're administering a drug to yourself to numb a deeper wound you've stopped even feeling. This isn't about morality. It's about mistaken identity. Your psyche is trying to fix a leak in the roof by repeatedly setting the floor on fire for warmth. It addresses the symptom, the feeling of cold, while catastrophically ignoring the real problem. This hijacked circuit operates with the cold efficiency of a machine. A feeling triggers an urge. The urge initiates a seeking routine. The clicks, the scrolls, the rituals. That routine delivers a temporary shallow reward, a hit of numbness, a moment of false vitality, and then, predictably, comes the aftermath, the crash, the shame, the deepened loneliness, the feeling of being further away from who you want to be than you were before you started. That aftermath, that new low, that fresh emptiness, simply becomes the next trigger. It's a closed loop, a perfect, self-licking ice cream cone of despair. You're not a sinner caught in a cycle of sin. You're an organism caught in a biochemical feedback loop that has learned to feed on itself. Understanding this is your first and most critical weapon. Because as long as you think you're fighting some fundamental part of your humanity, you will lose. You'll exhaust yourself in a war of attrition against your own nature. But when you see it as a hijacker, a parasitic piece of code running on the hardware of your mind, the strategy changes entirely. You stop trying to fight the feeling of thirst. You start looking for the poison in the well. You realize the goal isn't to destroy your capacity for wanting, for drive, for intense focus. That capacity is your power. That intensity is your engine. The goal is to evict the hijacker and reclaim the controls. To take that raw, undirected energy and point it at something real, something that builds, rather than at a phantom that only consumes. The hijacker survives in the shadows, in the fog of self-loathing. It thrives when you believe it is you. So we bring it into the light. We see it for what it is, a maladaptive coping mechanism, a faulty subroutine, a clumsy and destructive attempt by your own brain to solve a problem it doesn't understand. This isn't who you are. This is what's happening to you. And anything that is happening to you can be stopped. Any circuit that has been wired can be rewired. The first step to killing something is to stop seeing it as a monster in the dark, and to start seeing it as a machine. And any machine can be understood. Any machine can be taken apart. The fight starts with this truth. Your desire is not your enemy. Its corruption is. And that we can fix. Now we find its wiring. Now you understand the enemy. It's not you. It's a hijacker, a parasite feeding on your pain, promising a relief it can never deliver. But vague awareness isn't a strategy. Fighting a phantom is a recipe for exhaustion. You can't defeat an opponent you can't see, whose moves you don't understand. To kill this thing permanently, you must first map its territory. You must study its habits, its feeding grounds, its points of entry. You must become a detective on the scene of your own life, collecting evidence with cold, clinical precision. This isn't about blame. This is about intelligence. And the most vital intelligence you will gather is not about the hijacker. It is about you. We call this the audit, not a judgment. An audit, a systematic survey of the circuit. You are going to trace the hijacker's path, step by predictable step, until its power is not in its secrecy, but in your detailed understanding of its pathetic, repetitive routine. It always begins with the lack, the emotional or circumstantial void. This is the open door. You must identify the specific feeling, the raw state that precedes the urge. Is it fatigue at 10 p.m. after a day of decisions you didn't want to make? Is it a hollow, restless feeling on a Saturday afternoon with no purpose? Is it the spike of anxiety after a difficult conversation, or the dull ache of loneliness in a quiet apartment? This isn't feeling bad. You must be brutally specific. Is it a sense of professional inadequacy? A fear of social rejection? A deep-seated boredom? Find the lack, name it, write it down. 4:30 p.m., work finished, no plans. Feeling irrelevant, like the day lacked impact. The hijacker doesn't attack at random. It attacks when you are depleted. Your first mission is to identify your own depletion signatures. This lack creates the internal condition, but it needs a trigger. The urge. This is the spark, the environmental or internal cue that the hijacker has linked to its false solution. It's the sight of your phone glowing on the nightstand. It's the specific website you idly type when thinking. It's a certain song, a time of day, a particular emotional state like frustration or numbness. It's the mental image that flashes unbidden, promising distraction. The trigger is the doorway from the feeling of lack into the ritual of seeking. Your job is to spot the doorway. Is it when you're alone in a specific room? When you open a I-8 browser? When you feel a certain kind of restless energy in your body? Map it. You seeing the Chrome icon. The feeling of my thumb hovering over it. Then comes the seeking, the routine. This is the hijacker's well-paved highway. This is the automated sequence of actions you take, almost on autopilot, once the trigger is pulled. The specific clicks, the precise search terms, the scrolling, the refreshing, the ritualistic consumption. Don't flinch from the details. Observe it as if you were watching someone else's hands on a keyboard. This is the behavioral spine of the circuit. How do you move from the thought to the act? What is the exact step-by-step sequence? Open incognito window. Type first letter, autofill completes. Hit enter. Scan. Click. Scroll. This is the ritual. This is the path of least resistance your brain has carved. The circuit delivers as promised its temporary reward, but you must audit this with equal honesty. What is the fleeting feeling? It's not pleasure, it's relief. It's a numbing of the initial lack. It's a hit of dopamine, the anticipation, the novelty, the chase. It's a few seconds of feeling powerful, desired, in control, or simply not bored. Describe the shallow payoff. A 90-second wave of hollow excitement, a feeling of momentum without movement. And then, critically, you must document the aftermath, the crash, the real result. This is the hijacker's true signature, the proof of its poison. The shame that is deeper than the initial boredom, the energy drain that is worse than the initial fatigue. the self-disgust that amplifies the initial feeling of inadequacy, the wasted time, the lost focus, the sense of having betrayed yourself, of being further from the person you intend to be. This aftermath isn't a mistake, it's the end of the loop. It creates the new, deeper lack that sets the stage for the next cycle. Attack. It is a realm of infinite triggers and frictionless seeking. Your mission is to introduce friction, to make the path not just difficult but impossible. This is not a suggestion, it is a surgical strike. Install blocking software, the kind that requires a password you give to someone else, an ally, someone who understands the mission. Use the nuclear option, cold turkey filters that don't ask for your permission, that don't trust your compromised judgment in the moment of weakness. Delete the apps, not off the home screen, off the device. Remove the bookmarks. Wipe the autofill history. This isn't moderation. You are not negotiating a peace treaty with an enemy inside your gates. You are conducting an expulsion. You are creating a digital scorched earth policy. If a website, an app, a platform is a known trigger, it no longer exists in your world. You are not depriving yourself. You are removing a landmine from your daily path. Your physical environment is next. The hijacker associates certain places, certain postures with its routine. You must break those associations. If the trigger is your bedroom at night, the seeking routine is your phone in bed, then the phone does not enter the bedroom. It charges in the kitchen, in a locker, in another building if it has to. Get an alarm clock, the old boring kind. If the trigger is boredom on your couch in the evening, you redesign the room, change the lighting, rearrange the furniture. You create a physical dissonance that disrupts the automated script. If solitude in a certain chair is the preamble, you no longer sit in that chair during high-risk hours. You stand, you go to a library, you sit on the floor, you break the ritual by making the ritual stage unavailable. This is about discipline, yes, but not the discipline of gritting your teeth. It is the discipline of an architect. It is the discipline of commitment. You are locking your future self in a room with no windows and only one door, the door that leads forward. You are removing choices because you know your future self will be wounded, tired, and temporarily allied with the enemy. You are protecting that future self from his own weakness. This is the deepest form of self-respect, the respect that builds a guardrail knowing the driver might be blindfolded. Understand this. Every time you navigate past a barrier you yourself erected, you are not failing. You are succeeding. The barrier did its job. It forced a pause. It introduced a moment between the trigger and the action, and in that moment, a sliver of light enters, a chance for the real you to speak up. The goal is not to have infinite willpower. The goal is to need as little as possible, to make the wrong action so inconvenient, so structurally difficult, that it ceases to be a viable option. This extends to your schedule. Idle time is the hijacker's workshop. You must eliminate unplanned emptiness. You know your high-risk hours from the audit, the 4:30 p.m. void, the late-night fatigue. You fill those hours, not with more consumption, but with pre-scheduled, non-negotiable commitments, a workout you've paid for in advance, a walk you've put on your calendar, a project that requires your hands. You give your seeking energy a legal, constructive outlet before it can be hijacked. You are programming your time so completely that the parasite finds no vacant host. This phase is merciless. It is impersonal. It does not care about your excuses. It operates on one principle: if you touch a hot stove, you get burned. So you remove the stove. You are not fighting an impulse. You are deleting the button that creates the impulse. This feels extreme because it is. You are at war, and in a war you do not leave bridges standing for the enemy to use at his convenience. You blow them up. You starve the circuit by making its fuel inaccessible. You make the triggers hard to find and the routines impossible to complete. You turn your life into a fortress, not to imprison yourself, but to protect the self that is being built inside from the predator that prowls outside. The fortress is secure. Now, we give the man inside something better to do than listen to the prowler. You've built the fortress. You've scorched the earth. The triggers are blocked. The routines are disrupted. The environment is locked down. This is vital. But it is not enough. You cannot create a vacuum inside a man and expect it to hold. A starved circuit screams. A hijacked brain, denied its cheap fix, will thrash. It will whisper of deprivation, of unfairness. It will paint you as a jailer. If all you do is starve the parasite, you are left alone in a silent cell with the very emptiness it was feeding on. The lack you identified in your audit remains, and a void always seeks to be filled. Your will, your walls, they are a dam, and a dam without a spillway will burst. You need a new channel, a better current. This is the second kill switch, replacement. Not just denial, substitution. You must offer your nervous system a new deal, a superior transaction. You are not simply asking it to stop, you are negotiating for it to start something else. The hijacker offered a fast, cheap, hollow reward. You must offer a slower, harder, but ultimately real one. You must provide a dopamine hit that builds you up instead of tearing you down. We call this dopamine downgrading. You are trading counterfeit currency for real gold. You identified the lack, the boredom, the stress, the loneliness. That is your starting point. The hijacker's solution was a digital phantom. Your solution must be a physical, tangible, demanding reality. When the old urge fires, when the ghost of the routine twitches in your nerves, you do not meet it with a wall of no. You meet it with a pre-planned, irrevocable yes to something else. Something difficult. Is the lack a sense of powerless restlessness? The replacement is not a video. It is 10 minutes of brutal calisthenics until your muscles burn and your heart hammers. You trade the false surge of watching for the real surge of doing. Is the lack fatigue and mental fog? The replacement is not a numb scroll. It is a cold shower, a shocking, visceral reclamation of your body's alertness. Is the lack loneliness or a need for connection? The replacement is not a simulated intimacy. It is the actual awkward, courageous act of sending a text to a real person. I was thinking of you. How are you? The risk is the reward. This is not about pleasure. It is about engagement. The hijacker's reward was a passive trickle. Your replacement must be an active flow. It must require effort. It must involve a skill, however small. Learn 5 words of a new language. Practice a chord on a guitar. Write 1 paragraph of truth in a journal. Cook a meal from scratch. The goal is to move from consumption to creation, however clumsy. In that movement, you reclaim your agency. You are no longer a passenger on the hijacked circuit. You are the pilot of a new one. The key is immediacy and inevitability. You must have your replacements preloaded, like a surgeon's instruments. When the old signal fires, you do not debate. You act. You have a list. If urge, then drop and give me 20. If urge, then pick up that book and read 1 page aloud. If urge, then step outside and walk for 10 minutes without your phone. You are creating a new dominant neural pathway. You are teaching your brain, through sheer repetition, that the signal of lack is now answered by a command for constructive effort, not by a slide into destructive escape. This new word is superior not because it feels better in the first 3 seconds. It often feels worse. It's harder, it's work. It is superior because of its aftermath. The aftermath of the hijacker's reward was shame, depletion, and a deeper void. The aftermath of your replacement is competence. It is a clean fatigue. It is the quiet pride of a small victory. It is evidence. A single push-up is evidence that you are not a slave to the signal. A cold shower is evidence that you can command your own comfort. A sent text is evidence that you are reaching for real connection. This evidence accumulates. It becomes a new story. You are not just avoiding a pit. You are building a mountain, brick by brick, rep by rep, word by word. Each time you choose the harder, realer reward, you deposit strength. You are literally rewiring the reward center of your own brain. You are teaching it that true satisfaction comes not from what you take, but from what you overcome and what you build. This is the critical transition, from being a fortress under siege to being a workshop humming with purpose. The energy is the same. The intensity is the same. That raw, seeking, hungry force that the hijacker misdirected, it is still yours. It is your life force. You are not killing it. You are redirecting its flow. You are plugging it into a different generator, one that lights up your own house instead of burning down the neighborhood. The walls keep the thief out. The work within makes his whispers sound pathetic. Now we put that new energy to its ultimate use. The walls are up. The new machinery is humming inside. You've replaced a corrosive ritual with a constructive one. But this is still just management, containment. You're tending a garden where a fire used to burn. It's better, it's clean, but it is not enough. That intensity, that raw power you felt coursing through the hijacked circuit, wasn't the parasite's power, it was yours. The hijacker was a thief, but he was stealing a potent fuel, a focused, driving, almost obsessive energy. You felt it in the grip of the urge, the single-mindedness, the total absorption. That is not a flaw to be discarded. It is a weapon to be reclaimed, and a weapon locked in a workshop is useless. It must be aimed. It must be fired at a target worthy of its caliber. This is the phase of redirection, of transmutation. You are going to take that force, the force that was consumed in a sterile, digital loop, and you are going to turn it outward. You are going to use it to build something in the real world that can withstand a storm. You stop fighting the energy, and you start commanding it. You give it a mission so compelling that the old whisper sounds like static. You identified the lack. It was often a feeling of smallness, of irrelevance, of being adrift. The hijacker offered a simulation of power, of connection, of vitality. A lie. The antidote is not to mute the desire for power and vitality, but to earn it. For real. You must find a pursuit that is so demanding, so grand in scale compared to your old life, that it requires every ounce of that focused intensity just to make a dent in it. That pent-up energy, that restless, seeking drive, is pure potential energy. It is a coiled spring. Right now, it's pointed inward, tightening on itself. You must point it at a mountain and start climbing. Your mission could be physical, transform your body, not for vanity, but for the proof of discipline. Make it capable, resilient, strong. Let the energy that was spent in a fantasy of consumption be spent in the brutal, beautiful reality of a heavy weight lifted, a mile run faster, a body forged into a tool. Every ache becomes a trophy. Or your mission could be mental, creative, professional. Master a skill that intimidates you. Learn to code, to speak a language, to play an instrument, to build a business. Write the book. Start the project. Dive into the deep end of something complex and difficult. Let the obsessive focus that was wasted on a pixelated chase be poured into solving a real problem, crafting something beautiful, building something that lasts. The frustration of the learning curve, the countless small failures, these are not setbacks. They are the perfect sink for that restless energy. They consume it, honor it, and repay it with genuine competence. This is the core of the redirection. You stop seeing this force as a problem to be solved and start seeing it as an engine to be fueled. The old circuit asked, how can I escape this feeling? The new circuit demands, what can I build with this fire? When you feel the old ghost of the urge, that specific tense energy, you no longer see a threat. You see fuel. You recognize it. There it is, the focus, the drive. Now, where does the mission need it today? Does the mission need an hour of deep work? Does it need a brutal workout? Does it need you to reach out and make a difficult call? You direct the beam. This transforms everything. Boredom becomes the space for strategy. Loneliness becomes the clarity to work undisturbed. Stress becomes the sharpening stone for your resolve. Every emotional state that was a trigger for the hijacker becomes a potential source of power for your mission. You are not avoiding the dark. You are using the night to train your vision. You are taking the very thing that was ruining your life, and you are making it the foundation of a better one. That intense, seeking hunger is the hunger of ambition. That desire for stimulation is the curiosity of a builder. That need for release is the drive of a creator. You are not killing a part of yourself. You are promoting it. You are taking it off a dead-end assignee, NT, and putting it in charge of the most important campaign of your life. The man who has no mountain to climb will invent a pit to fall into. You will no longer invent pits. You will identify your mountain, and you will use every scrap of that once misdirected force to gain inches on the slope. The effort will be immense. The focus will be total. But this time, the exhaustion you feel will be the exhaustion of a creator, not the depletion of a consumer. The aftermath will not be shame. It will be the quiet, solid satisfaction of a stone laid in a foundation. The energy has a new master and a new purpose. Now, the final step, you become the person for whom this is simply how things are done. The fortress is built. The workshop is active. The engine is redirected toward a mountain. All of this is machinery, vital, powerful, precise machinery. But machinery can be abandoned. Systems can be gamed. Techniques can be forgotten on a bad day. If your victory depends solely on remembering the steps, on maintaining the blocks, on forcing the replacements, you are one moment of exhaustion, one major crisis away from a collapse. You will be a man perpetually holding a floodgate shut by sheer force. That is not victory. That is a stalemate. And a stalemate over time is a defeat. We must go deeper than behavior. We must go to identity. Right now, you see yourself as someone fighting lust, someone who has a problem, someone who is in recovery. That identity is a leak in your hull. It defines you by what you are against. It keeps the hijacker in the center of your story. It makes you a soldier in a trench, and a soldier's entire existence is defined by the enemy he faces. We are not here to build a better trench. We are here to leave the battlefield entirely, to become someone for whom the old war is not even a memory, but a historical footnote about a person you no longer re. This is the final permanent kill switch. You stop becoming the person who fights it, and you become the person who is no longer a viable host for it. You forge a new identity. From the inside out, you must decide right now who that person is. Not what he does, but who he is. What is his character? Is he a man of rigorous integrity? Is he a builder, a creator, a protector? Is he focused, reliable, present? Is he governed by purpose, not by impulse? Define it. Write the description of this man as if you were hiring him for the most important job in the world, the job of being you. This is not a fantasy. This is a blueprint. Now understand this. Every single action you take is a vote for one of two identities. The old identity, the compromised one, the hijacked one, the one who sought escape, or this new one. There are no neutral actions. The cold shower at dawn is not just a cold shower. It is a vote for the man who commands his own comfort. Turning off the phone and reading is not just avoiding a trigger. It is a vote for the man who values depth over distraction. The difficult conversation you don't avoid. The promise you keep to yourself. The extra 5 minutes on your project when you're tired. These are not just good choices. They are profound political acts in the election for your own soul. Each one is a ballot cast for the new man. You stop asking, can I get away with this? You start asking, what would the man I am becoming do next? That question changes everything. It moves the authority from outside, a rule, a system, a fear of failure, to inside, a code, a character, a standard of being. The fortress walls you build become not just external barriers, but expressions of an internal truth. The man of integrity doesn't need the blocking software because he doesn't go to those places, but he installs it anyway, not as a crutch, but as a moat around his castle, a statement of the value he places on his own focus. This identity shift is what seals the circuit shut for good. The hijacker fed on an identity of lack, of seeking, of being unfulfilled. It cannot attach itself to an identity of purpose, of creation, of integrity. The impulses may flicker. The old neural ghost may twitch. But to a man who sees himself as a focused builder, that twitch is not a temptation. It is a relic. It is the echo of a weak signal from a broken transmitter. It is data, not a command. He observes it with detached curiosity. There's that old pattern, and he returns to his work, because his work is who he is. You are not killing a part of yourself. You are integrating its raw power into a stronger, more complete whole. That intense, obsessive energy is now the focus of a craftsman. That desire for sensation is now the curiosity of an explorer. That need for release is now the drive of a visionary. These are not flaws to be amputated. They are strengths that were pointed in the wrong direction. You are not ending a war. You are repatriating a rogue army and putting it under the command of a better king. Day by day, vote by vote, you become him. The actions become habits. The habits become character. The character becomes fate. One morning, you will wake up and realize the battle music has been silent for weeks. You won't be holding the floodgate shut. You'll be standing on dry land, miles upstream, having rerouted the river to power your city. The hijacker will be gone not because you destroyed it, but because you starved it of the only thing it needed to live, a version of you that believed its lies. You are not fixing a broken man. You are building a new one, and that man has work to do. Now, go build him.